The legal experts of the ruling Pheu Thai party have expressed concern that the Yingluck government's emergency decree on the 1.14 trillion baht debt transfer from the Finance Ministry to the Bank of Thailand could be unconstitutional. The Constitution Court is scheduled to make a ruling on this issue tomorrow. The legacy debt transfer decree is one of the two emergency decrees being examined by the court as requested by the opposition and a group of senators. The other emergency decree will allow the government to issue 350 baht bonds to finance flood prevention projects. A Pheu Thai party executive who asked not to be named said the party's legal experts believe that the court's ruling on the debt transfer decree could be unfavorable to the government because the current 2007 charter clearly empowers the court to rule specifically on the urgency of emergency laws. Article 184 of the Constitution has strict criteria on emergency decrees, which is unlike the previous 1997 charter in which the criteria on emergency decrees are much broader. As a result, the majority of the Pheu Thai legal experts believe that the debt transfer decree could be ruled unconstitutional on the grounds that it is not an urgent issue. The debt transfer decree resulted from the 1997 financial crisis in which the bailouts of failed banks and finance companies led to the 1.14 trillion baht public debt. The Yingluck government wanted to pass the debt burden to the Bank of Thailand to avoid paying the annual interest of 40 to 60 billion baht on the debt, the money of which comes from the state expenditure budget. Traditionally, the Prime Minister may consider resigning and dissolving the House of Representatives when a major financial bill is nullified. However, Pheu Thai sources said the Premier or Deputy Premier Kittirat Naranong do not have to show their political responsibility since this case is not one that the government proposes a financial bill to Parliament and then fails to win enough support to pass it into law. In the event that the Constitution Court rules that the debt transfer decree is unconstitutional, the ruling party said it will propose the bill again to Parliament as a regular legislation for consideration by all MPs and senators.
Let's move on to another news of the national headlines. Kun Weena, in spite of weak economic growth as a result of the damage from the flood last year, Barclays Capital does not expect the Bank of Thailand to cut its policy rate further to boost growth. In its report issued this morning, Barclays Capital said the recent rate cuts were due to extraordinary circumstances and do not indicate that interest rates are on a downward trend. Well, while inflation is manageable currently, the Bank of Thailand expects price pressures to build as the output gap starts to close in the third quarter of this year. Barclays Capital said they sense the lower inflation expectations have allowed the Bank of Thailand to maintain an easier monetary stance. As such, inflation expectations 12 meters ahead will remain a key measure to watch for future policy responses. Barclays Capital projects the Thai economic growth this year to reach 4.5% compared to the Bank of Thailand's projection of 4.9%. Well, last year, the Thai economy was hit hard by the floods, with fourth quarter growth falling by 9%. And overall, the GDP growth in 2011 was 0.1%. Recovery might take a while, with the Bank of Thailand saying last month that the restoration process is likely to be more drawn out. The central bank also said that manufacturing production would only likely normalize by the third quarter, which is a concern given that the manufacturing sector accounts for about 40% of the gross domestic product.
The Bank of Thailand said it is closely monitoring the impact of a global watchdog's decision to label the country as uncooperative in efforts to combat money laundering and terrorism financing. The central bank will seek details from commercial leaders to gauge whether the move has affected their business, Assistant Governor Pongpen Rungwirya Yut said. The Financial Action Task Force, a Paris-based intergovernmental organization, added Thailand to a list of countries, including Cuba, Myanmar, Indonesia, and Pakistan, that have failed to make sufficient progress in introducing regulations to curb money laundering and the financing of terrorism, it said in a February 16 statement. Foreign investors should see this as a short-term factor, Pong Pen said. Deputy Governor Kerk Wanikul said Thailand will need to introduce procedures to identify and freeze terrorist assets before being removed from the watchdog's dark gray list of countries. Member countries may ask their financial institutions to be more careful in dealing with Thai banks, Kerk said. Deputy Prime Minister Chalerm Yubamrung said today the government doesn't see any urgency in issuing new laws.
Now we have a phone interview. It was recorded with Kun Sihanat prayoonrat, the Acting Secretary General of Thailand's Anti-Money Laundering Office, by our editor. Let's see this.
Well, let me make it clear and understand that FATF haven't mentioned any country at the backlist. But in fact, considering that the country may have some risk in anti-money laundering and terrorist financing, that is a wording with self-explanation, but it doesn't mean that they would say it is a backlist. How long, I don't think I can say so because it's far beyond control. But in fact, the main or the core principle of the FATF at the moment is that like three things. First, we should have the law like the Anti-Money Laundering Act and suppression of the terrorist financing. It should be enacted and to be implemented. That's one thing. However, the Thai government is go on to address the two acts to be processed so soon. And another thing is about the ministerial regulations or the customer due diligence, which have to be enacted. But these ministerial regulations, it should not be a big problem because it passed the procedure on the Council of States already, so it will be a law soon. And the other thing is that Thailand have to, let's say, reshuffle the performance in terms of the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing. Like that, the anti-money laundering office, it should be restructured to perform its work and more performance relating to the AML-CFT. AML-CFT, it stands for the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. It's going to be a prompt impact or not, I couldn't tell because I'm not in the business industry. But so far, AMLO make a call meeting amongst all the stakeholders and business entity. Let them know that they have to get readiness in case of some action against the business transactions among the country. Means between the financial institutions in Thailand and the financial institutions in those FATF member country. Right, so they have to get ready. But I don't know so far at the moment that the impact will be negative or it can be positive or so and so. In fact, the AMLO call meeting already and let them know about things could happen or may not happen. And then they will make a report back to AMLO by the end of this month or maybe by early of next month and see what's going to happen about, the impact on the FATF sanction measure.
The Prime Ministers of Thailand and Malaysia are promising deeper cooperation in an ongoing push against a low-level rebellion in Muslim-majority border regions separating the two Southeast Asian nations. The pledge came Monday in a meeting outside Kuala Lumpur between Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and her Malaysian counterpart Najib Razak. Both countries belong to the regional security grouping ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is urging Muslim separatists to reject violence and political extremism in southern Thailand. Najib Razak said that Prime Minister Yingluck has requested Malaysia to provide whatever system and cooperation we can to help Thailand in the process towards the long-term solutions in the south. They both agreed that this is a domestic matter for Thailand, and people in the south must not seek for a separate state. They must reject violence and extremism. Yingluck, on her first visit as Prime Minister to Muslim-majority Malaysia, praises the mutual help as essential to regional peace. PM Yingluck added that Thais and Malaysians see close cooperation as a key to ASEAN community building, regional connectivity, peace and prosperity. With Malaysia scheduled to be ASEAN chair in the year 2015, Thailand is confident that the launch of ASEAN community will be in good hands. They look forward to ASEAN being a key driver of economic growth and stability in the wider Asia-Pacific region. Yingluck's one-day visit came as Thai authorities probe a failed bombing plot in Bangkok involving Iranian suspects and their alleged targets, Israeli diplomats. Last week, one of the two suspects in the alleged bomb fled Bangkok to Malaysia, where he was arrested. Malaysian authorities have pledged full cooperation with Bangkok in the probe, but Malaysian police are still holding the suspect as they investigate the case. The second suspect is in Thai custody.